Dear children, welcome to the science class. So in the last class, we were studying about force, isn't it? What is force? Yeah, a push or a pull acting on an object is called force. And we studied the effects of force. And today in this class, we are going to see about the different types of forces. There are different types of forces like muscular force, mechanical force, frictional force and gravitational force, and we will study one by one. The first one, muscular force. From the name itself, we can understand what is muscular force. The force exerted by the muscles, that is called a muscular force. Okay, look at the picture. Here we can see a picture now. So the boy is pushing the swing, isn't it? The boy is pushing the swing. So what is happening? The boy is applying some force on the swing with his hands. So the part of which body part works? The muscles of the hands work. The boy is pushing the swing. That time the boy's muscle is working. The force is exerted or applied by the muscles of the boy's hand. So the force exerted by the muscles of the body parts is called muscular force. And the second picture, when man is lifting a box, isn't it? So he is also applying the muscular force of the hands. And here one boy is running, isn't it? So for running he is using the legs. The muscles of the legs are exerting force. So for running, for walking, for swimming and for lifting the objects and for opening the door and for closing the door, we use force that is exerted by the muscles of our hands or legs. Okay, so that is called muscular force. So what is muscular force? Muscular force is the force exerted by the muscles of the different parts of our body. Okay. So next one is mechanical force. So what is mechanical force? Mechanical force is the force exerted by machines. We use different machines for doing work, isn't it? For sharpening the pencil, for cutting the trees, for grinding coconuts, and for each and everything we are using one type or other type of machines, isn't it? In the last class we have seen we are using a spanner for tightening and loosening the nuts. That is also a tool. Spanner is also a tool. So we are using many works with the tools or machines. So the force exerted by the machines is called mechanical force. Okay. So look at the pictures. So here we are churning with the machine. Then here we are sharpening the pencil with a sharpener, and here cutting the trees with an axe. So here all we use one machine or other machine, one type of machines, isn't it? When we use machines for doing work and we apply force with the help of machines, that type of force is called a mechanical force. Okay. The force applied to do a work using tools or machines is called mechanical force. For example, cutting plants, sharpening pencils, grinding, etc. Okay, the next one is gravitational force. Next one is gravitational force. So when we throw a ball up, what happens to the ball? The ball comes down to the earth, isn't it? So when we throw a stone, what will happen? That stone also comes down. And we have seen the leaves are falling from the trees. They are also coming to the earth, isn't it? So what is gravity or what is gravitational force? The force exerted by the earth on the objects. That is called gravitational force. Gravitational force is the force applied by the earth on the objects. the earth is always attracting the objects towards it. It is always pulling the objects towards it. That type of force is called a gravitational force. Okay. So, the force exerted by the earth, it is attracting all the objects towards it. The force is attracting us. That is why we can walk on the road, we can stand on the floor. Otherwise, we will be floating in the air. If there is no gravity, what will happen? We cannot stand on the floor, we cannot walk on the road. We will be floating in the air. So, the force due to gravity is called gravitational force. Gravitational force pulls an object towards the earth. Gravity helps us remain on the ground. If there was no gravity, we would float in the air. Example, falling of objects. And Sir Isaac Newton discovered gravitational force or gravity. Okay, next one is frictional force. Okay, next one is frictional force. When we ride a bicycle, sometimes we have to apply brakes to stop the bicycle, isn't it? So, when we apply brakes, what will happen? The bicycle will stop, isn't it? So, when we apply brakes, the bicycle will stop. When we are riding another vehicle, when we apply brake, the speed of the vehicle will be changed. It comes down. The speed will be coming down, isn't it? So, this friction is used to slow down or stop a moving object. The force that slows down or stops a moving object is called a frictional force. What is frictional force? The force used to slow down or stop a moving object is called a frictional force. So, when we ride a bicycle and we apply brakes, what will happen? When we apply brakes, they rub against the wheels of the bicycle, isn't it? So, when we are walking on the road, there is a friction between the legs and the road. So, when we rub things against each other, there will be frictional force. When we rub our hands, the palms, what will happen? So, there is a friction, and because of that we feel heat. When we rub against the palms, the heat is produced because of frictional force. Okay. And the frictional force depends on the nature of the surface. If the surface is hard or rough, the frictional force is more. The friction is more when the surface is rough, and the friction is less when the surface is smooth. So, when we walk on the smooth surface, there is a chance of falling down because the friction between the legs and the surface is less. So, the friction is more when the surface is rough, and the friction is less when the surface is smooth. Okay. The force that slows down or stops a moving body is called friction or frictional force. Okay. Frictional force is caused when two objects rub against each other. So, friction is caused when two objects rub against each other. That time friction is produced. Friction produces heat and light. Sometimes it produces light or sometimes it produces heat. Friction also depends on the surface of the object. The amount of friction is more if the surface is rough and less if the surface is smooth. So, example, riding a bicycle. When we apply brakes, they rub between the wheels. Okay. So, there will be friction and the bicycle will be stopping. So, let us see the assignments of today. First one, there is a question and you have to write the answer of this in your notebook. A door produces a creaky sound when open or close it. Why does it happen, and what will you do to get rid of that sound? The door produces a creaky sound because of the friction between the hinges and the door. This can be reduced by applying oil on the hinges. So when we hear any sound, when we close the door or open the door, usually what we do, we apply some oil, isn't it? We put some grease or oil to reduce the sound. Okay. Next one, read the textbook and learn the new words. You have to read the textbook minimum 3 times and learn the spellings of the new words. Okay. That's all about this class. Thank you.